Om. Om. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahe, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Vasudevendra Yogendram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Abhidhiyate. Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna Adhikarinam Moksha Sadhana Bhutam Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshyamaha. Sadhana Chatushtaya Kim Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. Nitya Vivekaha Kaha. I'll come back to this in just a moment. Nitya Vastu Ekam Brahma Tadvyatiriktam Sarvamanityam Ayamev Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha. Viragaha Kaha Iha Swarga Bhogeshu Icharahityam. Shamaha Kaha Sham Adi Sadhana Sampatti Ka. We had a long discussion about this last time. Shama Dama Uparama Titiksha Shraddha Samadhanam Cha Iti. Where did we stop? Titiksha, or did we talk about Shraddha as well? Or we covered all of them?
No, we just did the first three.
The first three. Shama Dama Uparama, they work together because Shamaha is Mano Nigraha, Damaha is Chakshu Adi, Indriya Nigraha, and Uparamaha is what? Swadharma Anushthana. Yeah, they go hand in hand. And Titiksha also. Titiksha goes hand in hand with, actually they all go hand in hand. That's why they are Sham Adi Shatak Sampatti. But in a way,
actually, Professor, we finished all six.
We finished all, right? We talked about the hardest one to understand here is Shraddha.
Shraddha. Yeah, we spoke about it.
Now, sometimes, there's this thing about the word Shraddha, the word belief, faith, belief, becomes very, there are many interpretations of that word, particularly in the modern world. So everything has become pav bhaji, Everything is kind of mixed up. And it's kind of hard to recognize what is what. When I was a kid, I used to like eating pav bhaji. I still do. And I used to absolutely hate gobi. And when I grew up a little, became a teenager, maybe even a little later, went to college, I asked my mom what was the recipe for pav bhaji because I wanted to make it. And she told me, gobi and cabbage and aloo and butter. And I was like, No, there's no gobi. I hate gobi. She said, oh, you just don't recognize it. It's in there. So my young daughter right now, my little one, she loves pav bhaji and she hates gobi. So sometimes I have to tell her, I'm going to tell you a secret. This is the secret recipe. You cannot make pav bhaji without gobi. The reason I say that is because, in our modern world, everything has sort of become pav bhaji. It's kind of hard to distinguish what is what. And sometimes the same word gets used differently in different contexts. The language really kind of becomes a little short in terms of trying to convey what we are trying to convey. And there is perhaps no word in religion that is more pav bhaji mixed up than the word belief and faith. That's probably the hardest word. And it has some context, different meanings. And here the word Shraddha ki drishi, how does Shraddha look like? Is Guru Vedanta Vakyeshu Vishwasah Shraddha. It's very different meaning of the word Shraddha. It's not asking you to believe. It's asking you to have the patience to understand it. It's the same sort of Shraddha that you have when you open something for study and you don't get it right away, but you have Shraddha in many things. But most importantly, you have Shraddha in your own ability to decipher, understand. If the foundation is missing, let us say that you've cracked open a book that you don't have the foundation for, then you may have to backtrack a little bit, build up the foundation again, and go from there. But in this entire process, there is a belief that it is something that I will be able to understand. It's very simple, very practical belief. It's something that we kind of believe all the time anyways. We have faith in ourselves, that's why. And sometimes we come across subject matters that are very difficult. Usually what that means is that you have not had a chance to build the foundation in that particular topic. Once you build the foundation in that particular topic, you'll be good to go. Sometimes when you're doing foundational work or building up the foundation, you may have come across in those specific things some teachers who kind of didn't do a really good job of motivating the students, and so you left that subject. There are no subjects that are essentially boring, but there are sometimes the presentation of the material can be a bit boring. So Shraddha in Vedanta has a very specific meaning. Shraddha in Vedanta means that you are going to study the Granth with the belief that you will be able to understand it eventually. That is Shraddha. And that is the specific meaning of the word in the context that we are looking at. And Samadhana is Chitta Ekagrata, which goes hand in hand with study. So if you look at it, Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha, you have prepared your mind to be able to focus on something. You've prepared your mind to not be distracted, be a bit disciplined, be able to take some inconveniences and some, things that are distracting into account. And then you've given yourself the space, the mental space, the freedom to explore, investigate, understand, not become too enamored with specific conclusions, but give yourself the space and time to even disagree with yourself and investigate properly. And all of that, of course, requires samadhana, which is chitta ekagrata. So in a way, you could say that nitya anitya vastu vivekaha. Then there was iha utrartha sarva bhogeshu viragaha. Sham adi shatak sampatti. And the fourth sadhana chatushtayam is mumukshutvam. Moksho me bhuyat iti ichha. the desire, it's literally icha, the desire to be free, the desire to be free from a sense of limitation. I know we talked about sense of limitation at length last time. We also talked about what moksha is not. Sometimes we talk about what moksha is, but what moksha is not, sometimes we don't talk about. In the study of Vedanta, moksha is not something to be gained after death. Moksha is to be gained here, now. Moksha is an understanding. It is a vision of Jeev Jagat and Ishvara and the underlying Nitya Vastu, which is Ekam Brahma. In fact, the vision of Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha is moksha. And moksho me bhuyat iti ichha. It's a tough one to get, because in order to arrive at that conclusion, you would have understood what the sense of limitation is. We as human beings want to be bigger, better, more able, more talented, more skilled, and there is nothing wrong with it. We should absolutely try to improve upon ourselves. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. What we don't understand is that we are addressing superficial parts of ourselves. There is a deeper part of ourselves, or I don't want to use the word deeper, it can be confusing. There is a underlying substratum that never changes and is actually infinite, in the sense that it is not limited in any sense, because it has no adjectives. To arrive at that conclusion requires a bit of maturity, growth. And what causes growth? Sadhana. Sadhana causes growth, and as you have growth, you understand that this is the sense of limitation that I wish to address. So what is this? The next verse is Etat sadhana chatushtayam tatah tattva vivekasya adhikarino bhavanti. Then the person becomes adhikaritum, the preparation. They have the mind that is prepared for understanding tattva vivek. Very nice words. Viveka, the ability to discriminate in that pav bhaji. I've been able to discriminate what is what and what is not. But it is not discrimination between two objects. It's actually the ability to discriminate between the subject and the object. The ability to discriminate between what is nitya vastu and what is anitya vastu. What is tattva? What is real? Tattva is that. Tattva is the thatness of the that. What is the essence of that? What is it that I can never remove from that? What is the essence of it? The tattva, the ism that makes it that. What is the fundamental aspect of an object that never changes? The ability to discriminate between the anitya vastu and the nitya vastu that are both appearing at the same time whenever I see an object, that is tattva viveka. And tattva vivekasya adhikarino bhavanti, when the sadhana chatushtayam is properly established, or it has initiated. You don't have to, sometimes you get the feeling, because, we grow up in a culture and a custom will say, how much do I need to score on my sadhana chatushtaya test to have adhikaritva? Do I need to get an A? Is a B okay? And the answer to that question is the very fact that you started looking at sadhana chatushtaya means that your preparation has already begun. And you can start reading Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. You can start studying Tattva Viveka. You don't have to wait. They go hand in hand. And before the knowledge is 100% clear, established with clarity, yes, you will need a very strong sadhana chatushtayam fully established. But you don't have to wait that long. In a way, you just need the wood to be dry enough so that you can light it at one end. The fire will take care of the rest. when you are given when the wood gets wet in the rain, yeah, you have to dry it out, no doubt. That is the process of sadhana chatushtayam. You don't have to dry all of it out. You just need to dry out enough so that you can get the flame started. Because once the flame gets started, it'll take care of it. So there is no sadhana chatushtaya test that you need to score a A in. It's a process. Sadhana is a lifelong process. You continue it through the rest of your life. And as your sadhana becomes better, your understanding will become better. It's almost like a cycle that feeds upon itself. That's why the first sadhana chatushtayam was nitya anitya vastu viveka. Hey, that is what I'm actually trying to do. So the message has been given to you that the topmost thing in the sadhana chatushtayam is nitya anitya vastu viveka. Well, if I had that, then do I need to do sadhana? The answer is yes, that is sadhana too. Because it's a process that continues for the rest of our lives. So what is this Tattva Vivekaha Kaha? What is the ability to discriminate between what is that Nitya Vastu, between the underlying essence of reality, the thatness of the that? I have a chopstick here in my hand. It was on my table. I just picked it up. It's an object. Fair enough. With a certain dimension, with a certain set of properties, with a certain length, weight, mass, dimensions, material. I think it's made from some artificial polymer, not even made from wood like real chopsticks are. Just looks like a chopstick, but it's made from some synthetic material. What is the essence of it? All of these attributes that we just described, when I look at the chopstick, what exactly makes the chopstick a chopstick? Nothing. I made it a chopstick. I called it that. In fact, this is a very good example. Tell me, is this a chopstick? No, because the other one is not there. You can't really. This is a great example because I have only one on my desk. Where is the other one? I don't know. It's lost in the black hole of space and time. Well, very interesting, right? This is a chopstick, and yet it is not a chopstick. Why is it not a chopstick? Because it cannot function as a chopstick. I can't pick up anything without the other. Oh, I'm gonna. This is a random example that appeared to me, but I'm gonna steal this example. It's quite a great, powerful example because it says you continue to call it a chopstick, but it cannot perform the job of a chopstick. Not anymore, unless I bring in another. Maybe I can get my pencil to work as the other chopstick. It's made from some material. What exactly is the essence of this chopstick? What is its underlying reality? I find that the word chopstick was entirely made up based on its functionality. Okay, fine, I'll retain the word, but I'll understand that it is made from some material, it has some mass, it has some dimensions, it looks like certain things. But I just transferred the epithet. Remember, in English, there's a thing called transferred epithet. I move the adjectives from one thing to the other. I just described more attributes, and so if I snap it into two, what does it become? Is it still a chopstick or not? And it turns out that when you take any such object of the world, of the Jagat, you find that its reality is mithya, which means that it depends upon other things to define its reality. This chopstick depends upon the existence of the polymer material. In fact, am I touching the chopstick? The answer is no, you're touching the material that the chopstick is, and that's correct. What is that material? If it's a polymer, it is some polymeric chain compounds of carbon and hydrogen and oxygen. Fair enough. I seem to be just dropping names and picking up new names whenever I try to talk about any object. Even if it is chains of carbon and hydrogen and oxygen, and it's a polymer that I'm working with. When I talk about the chain of these elements, what am I referring to when I call upon this element? I'm still referring to their atomic molecular structure that makes them a stable constituent of this universe. Again, I dropped words and picked up new words. I seem to be living in the world of word salad, where I have ideas for which I have words, but they all start collapsing little by little. What I'm left with in the end is that this thing is. And the thing that I cannot deny about it is that it is. There was a time when it was not before manufacturing. And there is a time when it will not be after it has degraded. If it is made from plastic, that will be 1,000,000 years from now. But still it will degrade. But that's not its reality. Its reality is that it depends upon other things. Its existence is what is real. That is the isness of any object, is the fact that it is sat, existent. And is its existence limited to itself? Or is this existence boundaryless? So the question is, Tattva Vivekah Kaha? What is this underlying reality of all objects and the subject? And how do I gain the ability to discriminate between this Nitya Vastu and everything else that is Anitya? So the answer that the teacher provides, again using a word salad, the teacher says, Atma Satyam Tad Anyat Sarvam Mithya iti. Atma is the Satyam. Satyam means what? It is undeniable in all the three states, whether you are awake, dreaming, or asleep. It is undeniable during creation, after dissolution, after destruction, during destruction, and after dissolution. Even when there is no creation, Atma stays. That is Satyam. And the answer is saying Atma Satyam. Tad Anyat Sarvam Mithya iti. Everything else depends upon it for borrowing its existence. Well, this Atma becomes a very wonderful thing. But Atma also stands for I. So it's very interesting and important in Vedanta. Brahman Satyam Tad Anyat Sarvam Mithya iti is also correct, 100% correct. But the teacher wants us, students, to understand the personal application of this truth. The personal application of this truth is that Brahman is the self as well. That Atma is the same Satyam as the Brahman. Tad Anyat Sarvam Mithya iti. So the student is immediately going to ask, Atma ka, what is this Atma that you are referring to? He says, Atma kaha. The answer is long. That answer is going to be many, many weeks of classes. Atma kaha. Atma is Satyam, Sarvam Mithya iti. So look at what he says. What is Atma? He says, Sthul, Sukshma, Karana, Sharirat, Vyatiriktaha. Pancha Kosha Atitaha. San Avasat Avasthatraya Sakshi. Satchidananda Swarupaha Sat. Yah Tishthati Sa Atma. So he gave a definition, which is a lot of negation. He says it is other than everything else which is mithya. What is mithya? He says the sthula sharira is mithya because it depends upon the sukshma sharira. The sukshma sharira is also mithya because it depends on the karana sharira. So he says it is other than the sthula, sukshma, and karana sharira. To which the reader will say, well, you just threw away everything, right? What is a human being? besides the Sthula Sharira, which is the physical body, the Sukshma Sharira, which is the intelligence and the Antakarna, the Karana Sharira, which is the fundamental laws of existence on which that body is functioning. Atirikta, what is left? You'll say nothing's left. And the answer is no, the verse is not over. The verse is not over. He says it is Panchakosha Atitaha. It is the one that is, let me see what he uses for the word Atitaha, beyond the 5 levels. Panchakosha Atitaha, it is beyond. Beyond. The Panchakoshas are experiential. You can experience the Annamaya Kosha, which is the body, the Manmaya Kosha, which is the mind, the Pranamaya Kosha, which is the energies of the body, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is the Buddhi in the Antakarana, and the Anandamaya Kosha, which is the ability of the mind to be dissolved. In a way, it is gone, and so you are asleep. Anandamaya Kosha included. Says it's Panchakosha Atita. It is beyond the 5 koshas that you are familiar with. So first he took away the Sukshma Sharira, the Karan Sharira, and the Sthula Sharira. Those are gone. He says maybe some koshas will survive. No, it's not those koshas either. All those models of what the human is, it's not that. Avastha Traya Sakshi. So now this is a positive definition. The first 2 definitions were negative. It is said it is not that. So if you look at yourself for a second, you will say, well, that's everything. You basically said Atma is nothing. And the answer is no, no, no. There are some positive definitions also. That's why they're included in the same verse. He says, Avastha Traya Sakshi, the one who is present, Sakshi, present, aware of all the 3 avasthas, the waking state, the dreaming state, and the sleeping state. But you'll say, wait a minute. When I'm awake, my Sthula Sharira is there, my Sukshma Sharira is there, my Karan Sharira is there. He says, yes. It's not those Shariras. It is the one who is aware of them. The Sakshi, in whose presence, in whose conscious awareness, the 3 are active. Avastha Traya Sakshi. In all of these 3 states, I will have all the Panchakoshas active. The Annamaya Kosha, the body, the Pranamaya Kosha, the energies, the Manmaya Kosha, the mind, Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intelligence, and the Anandamaya Kosha, the ability to feel, the ability to be resolved in the mind. All will be present. It's the one that is witnessing all 5 of them. Avastha Traya Sakshi. Satchidananda Rupaha. Satchidananda Swarupaha Sa Yattishtati Sa Atma. Atma is the one that is always situated in all the situations, in all the experiences, as the existence of them, the awareful witnessing of them, and the unlimited nature of the experiencer. So those are positive definitions of the word Atma. Yattishtati Sa Atma. It is always situated, Tishtati. It is that underlying substratum that never goes anywhere. It's that underlying substratum in all the 3 states of experience, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. It is existence, consciousness, and unlimited. That's why referred to also as Satchidananda. So now this is, and we've talked about this before, Tattva Bodha is a glossary text in the sense that it introduces us to the terminology of Vedanta. Just like it, we came across the term Shraddha, and I had to tell you that there's so many mixtures, confusions, and so on, and we sorted through all that and figured out what the word Shraddha really meant within this context. Similarly, the word Atma, the word Mithya, they may have other meanings in other contexts, in other studies. But in Vedanta, they have very specific meanings. And we'll talk about that in future classes, so to speak. Here, the definition that we came across was Atma Kaha. There were two definitions that were negative in the sense that what it is not. So it's clearly said that it is not the Sthula Sharira, not the Sukshma Sharira, not the Karan Sharira. It is not the 5 koshas either. And then there are two positive definitions that is given. One is Avasthatraya Sakshi, the one that is always present in all the 3 states. And the other is that it is Swarupa, the essence of the individual, which is in the form of Satchidananda Atma, and it is always situated as such. So those are the glossary definitions of Atma. What do you think the student is going to ask? He's going to go right back to the beginning and say, what is Sthula Sharira? Sthula Sharira Kim? We won't start that today because I think we got pretty much an overload from this verse itself. We'll save that for next time. This is a good stopping place because we got a chance to see where we are going. We have looked at the Sadhana Chatushtaya and we've arrived at the first verse, which will of course be a very long discussion. First, the student is going to ask, what is Sthula Sharira? Then he's going to ask, what is Sukshma Sharira? Then he's going to ask, what is Karan Sharira? And he's going to ask, what is Panchakoshas? And he's going to ask, what is the Avasthatraya? What does the word Sakshi mean? So he's going to answer, he's going to take them apart one by one by one, which is the process of Viveka. And so this is a good place to stop and open the floor for any questions or comments. Oh, we cannot hear you. You are muted.
Yeah. So if I was a student there, right, after Mukshu Cheti, the question of what does Mumukshutva mean, the answer contained the word moksha. So someone would have asked that question. And I think even the teacher would have realized that someone would have asked the question. So he kind of ended, okay, I'm not going to talk anymore on these topics. This topic is over. like just before someone asks that question, is like, I know you're going to ask it. I can't explain it to you now. I'm going to give an extra verse there to say the topic is over. You can ask on the next thing, then it will make sense. So I felt, I don't know, Shankaracharya's decision there was it's a teaching tool there. Yeah.
Very good.
And
I think it's inevitably going to come up, like the discussion on moksha also in detail, I guess.
Of course. It is the subject matter of the book all through the end. So we'll talk about it again and again. All right.
yes,
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.